allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call the May 20th, 2021 Village Board meeting to order. Number 2, roll call shows everyone is in attendance and Peter is on the phone. 3, agenda changes. Are there any? If not, we'll go to 4, consent agenda. A, May 6, 2021 regular board meeting minutes. B, May 13, 2021 special board meeting minutes. C, licenses and permits. There are none. Presentation of accounts and other claims against the village. Are there any questions? If not, could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call. Peter, you want to start?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carried. 5, pre-registered citizens to be heard.
None.
Okay. 6, committee reports. There are none. 7, unfinished business from previous meetings. There is none. 8 is new business. A, union contract.
Everybody received the contract in final draft. It was as informed that it was approved by the union. We were informed of that today, and so it's in front of you for approval. Questions?
I have a couple. And maybe this is not my notes or my memory, but Article 5.1D. In my strike-through, I have some comments about.
Sure.
What's that?
I can address that one.
Okay, about why it's removed and in the final it doesn't exist at all.
Correct. You know, the union's position with the, Tom, his position was that he was concerned that the language could be problematic. And I guess I agree that it's not needed. A probationary officer can be discharged, period. And so, you know, it was seen as additional language that really didn't add anything, and he thought it could be problematic. So we said, yeah, okay, take it off.
Okay. I mean, this is the, so where do we have something that says that they can be discharged just because they're.
State statute.
In state statute, okay. All right, okay, so, all right, thank you for that. I was just concerned because it just disappeared without
Yep.
any discussion. I have one more. The clothing, Article 20, 20.2. At the very end, we always addressed what the verbiage before the 250 on the very last line, and never addressed what came after, which was on a cumulative basis. So does that allow, the way that's worded, does that allow it to continue to roll over multiple year?
Well, only up to 250.
Okay.
So it's, you know, it's a cumulative basis, not an annual basis.
So it wouldn't be 250 multiple times, it's just 250 is the max that they can carry over, is how I understand it.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted clarification on this. Just wanted to make sure that
Yep.
the way it's worded, it's difficult.
That's what it means.
Okay. All right, that was the only questions I had.
And the only question I had is the 2 attachments I had in the email both still have the 5.1D. So if when we're all done, could I get a copy of the final?
Say that
I
again.
mean, there's still a D,
Both
it's just not the
versions.
same D.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was trying to figure that out.
What is that, Julie?
The email that I had,
They both had 5.1D and
they both had 5.1D. So I don't think I have like a final
Sure.
copy.
No,
I
we
think
will.
I just would like to have
so that I can get rid of all the rest of these and just have one final copy. That would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the D in this one and the D in this one are completely different.
All right, so the motion on this, does it need to, it obviously needs to say the year, so it'd be 2022 through 2024?
Correct.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the union agreement between the Village of Hortonville and the Hortonville Police Association, WPPA, LEER, from 2022 through 2024.
I'll second.
Roll call, Peter?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carried. B, discuss potential change of ordinance about agenda.
This is something you wanted added?
Yep, yep. Okay, so you sent out the agenda control and presiding officers. I mean, and I read through this whole thing a couple of times. And basically the gist of this is that the authority to control the agenda should not rest solely with one individual. Most of the references in here refer to a village president or mayor, right? But our ordinance solely rests the authority with you, right? Based on my understanding.
No,
You were gonna
I think-
bring the ordinance.
There's
No,
there's
I looked through the ordinances again, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's just a matter of usage.
Okay,
You know, the agenda's gotta be generated somehow, and it's just something that's kind of happened through the years.
okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't answer, that doesn't really address what I brought up here.
there's no ordinance on the
There's no
agenda
ordinance.
creation at all, other than what it should look like, not who puts what on it,
Okay,
or who has authority over it.
okay, so then how do we determine whether or not somebody can add something on if we don't have anything?
We usually don't ever turn people down when they're board members. We respect that each board member adds things to the
You know,
agendas.
Let me just clarify this. Okay, we have this training that we all go to, or we have the opportunity to go to. And the last time I went was 2019. So on this chapter in here, which says procedures for meetings, it says chairperson's responsibility. Chairperson is responsible for the agenda. Members may place items on the agenda, so that clarifies that. Chairperson has all the rights of participation, including making and voting and seconding and everything else, and it goes on.
Did you
But-
make copies of that, Jeannie? What is that from? I guess I'm trying
The
to.
league.
Have you
Is
not
it the
done the
league?
League's
Yep.
101 training?
I've done it twice, yes. So I don't remember a book like that. Maybe mine's a bit different color.
This
from-
was 2019, that's the last time I went.
Okay.
I went twice.
I wish I
So
would've
this
brought it with
is
me. I
in
would've
their,
looked at the
in
wording
their
myself.
book, but I would think we would ask someone else to also be included, which I would think it would be Nathan and the chairperson. I think that's how we need to put it, clarify it in our ordinances, to just clear this up once and for all, and then it's done. Because I was going to call the league, just to verify this was still what it is, but I thought, you know, this is 2019, this is 2017 that was sent out to us, so.
But there has been no change in law, there's no statute, Robert's rules doesn't cover it. So, you know, Dan Olson, who authored this article in 17, would still stand by it, as far as I know. I think though, in putting out a procedural book, I think the league decided, you know, we should come forward with a procedure because we are the league and we, you know, municipalities need some direction.
Mhm.
But that's my take on it. Again, if you get down in the weeds, I think this article is accurate, that if you want to point to where's the authority for that, there probably isn't any. So I would agree, it's a good idea to put in an ordinance so that we have something going forward.
Would that affect department heads, because I put
No.
stuff on there all the time?
No,
No.
no.
No, and any one of us can add, I mean,
Yeah.
we're asked the question, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion. I mean, any
Right.
one of us at any time can bring that up, and we
Well,
have.
yeah,
And that's
I-
exactly what they're saying in this league book, that members, that's us, members, may place items on the agenda.
Right,
So
And
there is no,
but in, from.
we're not doing anything wrong by
No.
following that.
No, but
You
I
know.
think almost every municipality has the administrator or the staff initiating, right? I mean, you don't know what needs to be done at each meeting for things, recurring things coming up. You know, somebody's gotta be, you know, watching, you know, Jane, Nathan, Carl.
Mhm.
They're to bring things to you for approval that you wouldn't otherwise know about.
Right.
So whatever we do, I think you have to have the administration initiate
Mhm.
that agenda. So let's do that. That'd be my recommendation. Then from there, as far as adding to it, yeah, you can handle it the way you want.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's questioning that. I think, you know, Nathan, as the administrator, draws it up. The only question that has come up, and it's come up by me, is the ability to add items from individual board members to the agenda. That's without having the option of saying, no, you can't put that on the agenda, or that's going to be too much work, or, I mean, that's not, so in this article, which you just referenced, it says, the broad general, nonetheless, the broad general grant of powers to villages set forth in section 61.341 unquestionably gives village boards the power to establish procedural rules not already provided by statute. Right, and this is in defining what procedure we're going to use to establish an agenda. So my proposal is that we leave the way it is, where Nathan, the department heads, generate an agenda, but add in, just as you said, the ability for any board member to add an item to the agenda. Now, there's some suggestions in here about, you know, putting the same things on over and over again. And you can put limitations on it, right? Because you don't want somebody bringing something up over and over and over again in every meeting, right? But it is, every member of the board is elected by the residents, and what the residents come to them, or for whatever reason, they have an agenda item they want to be discussed, it should be discussed. They still have to convince 3 other members of the board that it's worthwhile. If it's gonna require a lot of work, the board can direct resources to do research at the time that it's on the agenda. If it can't be done beforehand because it's too cumbersome. If it is something that nobody is in favor of, it will come up and it'll go down. But there's no reason that I can think of that individual board members should not be able to add items to the agenda for general
That would be
discussion.
my only concern is, so something comes up. You mentioned that, you know, if they haven't had time, if it does require more input in the investigation, that it can be carried over.
Mhm.
First off, you have to understand that. If it's also, you could be looking at a situation where it's not just the information, but that, you know, let's say somebody comes to you, rather than using 5 minutes here that they can any meeting to indicate a problem, and maybe then initiating a discussion to get it on the agenda. And if it's something that should be at least initially addressed from an administrative standpoint, you know, then council or the administration is going to say that, presumably, and I would just hope that the board would be sensitive to that.
I would hope so too.
That there's certain things. If you have, you know, one individual coming in who has a problem with something that their neighbor's doing, we certainly can't have an ex-party hearing here. We should have, if you're gonna have it, you should have both parties.
Yep.
And so those items, again, it's okay to put on the agenda as far as I'm concerned, as long as we don't dive into it right away and you know, we decide how we're going to address it.
Yep,
And that-
I completely understand, and I mean, we had a similar situation not too long ago where I brought it up, where the individual wanted it spoken about, and I brought it up, and I said, you know, I'd like to see this, and they said, well, we should do this first, and I, okay, and then I went back to, you know, and that's the general idea of being reasonable.
Yep,
But
that's fine.
that shouldn't preclude the ability, because those situations might arise, it shouldn't prevent individual board members from having a procedure you could follow to add an item directly to the agenda if necessary.
With the caveat, I'm sorry, Pat, you can-
Go ahead.
that just simply putting it on the agenda does not automatically assign staff to even get the preliminary information.
Correct.
I mean, it is a fresh discussion,
Correct.
and then this board then directs staff, because I would hate staff to have to, okay, we're gonna put this on the agenda, and it's just a little bit of work. There shouldn't be any work needed for them. If it's a board, if I'm calling up Carl and saying, or Carl calling up Nathan and saying, I want this on the agenda, but it has to do with Public Works, I don't have the authority to make Carl do extra work to get information ready. you know.
Correct.
So that's just why I would wanna make sure that we all understand that, yes, we can have a healthy discussion, but it might be just the beginning of the discussion. It might get pushed to another meeting after staff has shared.
I think just
I
giving-
agree.
I
You
think
know,
giving
something
staff a
that-
leeway would be better than just making it a blanket statement that we can't do anything, because some of it could be brought up and it could take us 5 minutes to just grab the.
Correct.
So I
Something
think
might be
giving
super
staff a
easy.
little flexibility that way, I think is fair.
Yeah,
Super
leave it up to
easy,
the
yeah.
discretion.
Something that was done in the past by other administrators and presidents was you needed to have your material in your department heads, your board, whoever, by Friday before the next meeting. And yes, emergency things did come up on maybe Monday or Tuesday, and those, they had to be amended, and something did get added by a department head or something. But, you know, that's probably not a bad thing for you to address as the administrator and say, please, you know, have your stuff ready for this agenda by Friday before the next meeting. And it just helps, just in case there is a little work, like you say, you can decide, well, you know, Jeannie, you want that on there, but it's gonna take me a week to get it. Then you would say, okay, let's put it on the future meeting. And I mean, that's, you would be the determining factor. So I mean, that's all we need to do. It all goes back to respecting our staff. So,
It's been a kind of a plan that we've been trying to do, it's just we've been trying to catch up. So, but the goal has been to try to start getting the packets even out and the agendas out by Friday, so that you guys get more time, where it's not like 2 days before, hopefully you don't have anything going on, so.
well, it's not bad if you get them out on Monday or whatever, because you don't wanna have to amend, and it has happened, where things just popped up,
My printer gets.
you know,
broke out.
so,
Yeah.
you know, Monday isn't horrible to get that agenda out, or even Tuesday if you have to. Unless there's a lot of reading, then I can understand that the board should have it before then. Monday would be great.
I guess I'm wondering with this, this should really be pretty rare, shouldn't it? Because okay, thank you, because when we have this opportunity every meeting to say future discussion, that's when we should be bringing these up. Am I correct that we shouldn't be calling department heads or on a regular basis? It should be able to be prepared
I think it's something
for.
that happens between the meeting and the
Yeah.
next meeting, like
But
that's
that
really
should
when
be
it's
pretty
very
rare,
rare,
I'm thinking, right?
Very
I
rare.
think it'll be fairly rare.
Okay,
But
I
I
just wanted
still
to.
think that there needs to be a procedure in
Okay,
place to
'cause-
account for those instances when it does happen.
I would just hate for
Or-
all of us to start calling without using this first, is my, you know.
Or
Nathan
I
likes it.
personally like the idea of having it documented, because there have been issues with personnel who had agendas in the past, we'll say, without giving out names and stuff, where, you know, the certain board members couldn't be heard. The things they necessarily wanted to talk about could never be put on the agenda. Or they were controlled in a way that wasn't open and available to the board members. So I don't want to see that. I don't think Nathan's ever going to do that. But I don't see, you know, Nathan won't be here forever, right? And there may be another person with another agenda somewhere down the road, and if it's documented that we as the representatives would like to talk about something at the board meeting, that we have an established procedure to be able to put it on the agenda.
Okay, and I just wanted to clarify, because I
Yeah,
think we've
I
got
don't think
that
it'd be a
for,
big deal.
you know what I mean?
Yes,
just
I don't
didn't
think it's a
want-
regular occurrence.
I just don't think it's fair for us to assume we can regularly call and keep adding without going this route, if possible.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, thank you.
So do you want a policy or an ordinance?
What's the best?
Well, policy's easier to change going forward. You know, this body can make whatever rules it wants for its meetings, and so it'd have the same impact as an ordinance. Usually something like this procedurally, I think it'd be a policy. But if you insist it should be an ordinance, then that's your decision.
What does everyone want to
I
do?
think just a policy is
I think a
fine.
policy is fine.
It's no different than.
They get reviewed
employee policy.
every,
I would note when I was reviewing the ordinances, the one ordinance that we do have that's, I guess, similar to what we're talking about here is 2 trustees can call a special meeting at any time. Just gotta do it in writing, and, there's a procedure there. So I think that's probably enough to deal with, something that's pressing. I mean, this could be handled as a policy.
yeah, we've had that recently, like I've come in and signed a special meeting paperwork, yeah.
Yeah, but anybody can do it, not just at,
Yeah.
the administration's request.
So 2, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the policy's fine with me.
So we'll just write something up and
Bring it and then
approve
just
it at the
tweak
next
it.
board meeting?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Perfect.
you.
Anything else? If not, we'll move to C, Summer Recreation Scholarship Update.
Just wanted to have an opportunity to update the board, letting you know that it's in the works. We've been communicating basically by email between the director, the assistant director, Nathan, and myself. As far as the scholarship application or financial assistance application, Friends of the Hortonville Library will be the fiscal agent, if you want to call it that, for people that want to make donations. We'll go through that because we're a 501c3. Friends is a 501c3. At the last Friends meeting, it was approved to be that, with the additional kind of a caveat that the library be involved. So one of our members is going to be providing some programming with the library. So we have kind of a stake in it. So just waiting for the booklets to come out, and I think it's gonna be on Facebook. It's gonna be an online registration also for Summer Rec. And then if anybody wants to apply for financial or donate, that'll be on there too.
Are there any questions for Pat? Okay, then we will move to D, R-07-21, amending wage.
I'll start with this, probably have Nathan finish up. With the recent happenings with my staffing down at the wastewater plant, the assistant operator's position is gonna have an immense workload placed onto them. And I'd like to give them a small step increase between now to address some of the stress that's going to be placed and burden placed on them. I feel they're more than worth it when they're worthy of it. Again, it's to reward them for sticking around here, and this is an individual I think is going to be with the village a long time, so it'd be nice if we could show them some support as well. I hope it's going to be with the village a long time. So, maybe DPW someday. It's a good guy. Anyways, I'm just looking to give him a step increase for stepping up and for the next several months and taking on the majority of the workload down at the wastewater plant.
The only question I had, Carl, was, is this specific to just one employee, or does this take that entire position and
No, it's
keep it
just
at that?
one employee at
Okay.
this moment in time, yeah.
Okay. Then I can make a motion to approve R-7-21, amending wage.
I'll
Second.
Go ahead.
Second.
Roll call, Peter?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carried. E, discuss legal RFP.
Okay, so initially, the first one that we went through, you guys were gonna have me do an interview for the top candidates and then give you the one that I selected. I was gonna give you guys another opportunity if you wanted to have the there's really two options I see that I highlighted, that I think you guys, if you wanted to, you could have them come in and speak and answer your questions rather than me do it. It's up to you guys, how you wanna go forward. I have the RFPs, or if their responses too, if you wanna look at both of them, and the other ones, I guess, too, if you have any questions on those, but, yeah.
If we were to go with a different law firm, does everything that Bob has at Men, does that transfer over to a different law firm? How does that work, Bob? No. Yes.
Well, any files a lawyer has are, the client's entitled to them.
Okay.
So clearly there would be a transfer. So there's, yeah, that wouldn't be an issue. As far as the physical files, that's, everything would be paper.
Electronic too, I'm assuming. Because we had gone to an attorney with Men Law Firm, and we were told that even if that attorney retired, that it would always stay with the Men Law Firm, all of our materials.
I
No?
don't think so.
Okay.
No, I think,
Like where would all that, because
there can be some things in there that, probably is restricted. You know,
I'm just
as
thinking
far
of some
as-
of the historical, because I think before you, it was Kelly Lathrop, correct?
Mhm.
I mean, that goes way back.
We have records of a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, what I have really is that, as far as records, it'd be no different than what Jane has access
Okay.
to, or what she has. I'm trying to think what else.
Like if we ever wanted to access something in the future, would we have to do, like, that maybe something we don't have but you would have?
Yeah, I mean, those files would be retained, let's say.
That's a tricky question, I know, because there's certain things in there that are likely
Yeah.
sensitive.
I just hadn't thought of that.
No.
You know, as far as, you know, how we would procedurally do it, so it's more seamless. But really, most of the records are duplicitous of what's here, okay?
All right.
Search fee or something.
Yeah, I mean, on occasion, I've been asked, you know, where the municipality can't find something, to go through my files to see if I have anything that would shed light on it. That's very, very seldom.
What happens to your files? Because your files then just are the Men Law Firm, is that their property then when you retired? Okay.
Do release of
Under their care.
information, if there was something, is there a release of information form that another law firm could use if we do go that route, or?
Well, certainly, if there's an issue, I don't think
Yeah.
there'd be an issue.
Okay.
Um,
It could be dealt with if, probably.
Well, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was the only question I had with this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the question is, you know, how long does one retain
Mhm.
the files, right?
And most of it's up here, that, I mean, you, from memory, you remember certain
Well,
situations, but,
Yeah, but I mean, I don't have Kelly Lathrop's files anymore.
you know.
You know, so he passed in 91.
Mhm.
You know, there's a limit on
Okay.
what you retain too. So,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Are you looking to see what we would like to do, if we're going to put it in your hands, or if we want to look at these?
Correct.
So what is the feeling of the board to do?
I'm fine with administration. Just deciding, I think Nathan's qualified, or at least eh, looking through the, I mean, there's at this point 2 options. Well, there's more than that, but 2 that you highlighted.
Is that what the next agenda item is for?
Right.
Okay.
Because I figured you guys would probably want to interview them, I don't know.
I don't know, And it's kind of tricky, cause,
Right.
yeah.
Do you want
I
us
mean,
to?
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you want other people to assist you with that? Is that
I
kind
mean,
of?
I can do it myself or do it with some staff members. I don't have an issue, or even if one of you guys wanted to assign 2 people similar to the way we did the audit, I'm fine with that too. I don't know which way you wanna go with it. I mean, I can go in and make my decision, but depending on,
Cause really, essentially, you're the one that works with them the most, and you've interacted with, yeah,
Yeah, the only thing I think that we would get out of speaking with them might be, you know, the personality of the
Right.
individual,
right,
you know, as to whether or not, you know, very unlikely, you know, you'll get somebody that's applying for this that has, but you don't know.
Have you met with any of them?
well, the one law firm, I've met with them before because they've worked with us before, but,
Okay.
and Carl worked with the other one.
Okay.
The both highlighted, we've worked with both.
So the other ones were not qualified at all, or missing?
No, they were
something, or-
qualified, just some were very out there, expensive, or outside of the really far away. And then there's some that they only did HR matters, or they didn't do.
Weren't comprehensive enough.
Right. Yeah, and
like
then,
municipal experience, it,
right,
yeah.
Personally,
I
I'm
don't
good
know.
either way.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm
I
good
have
either
no
way. I
feeling.
wouldn't mind, you know, meeting the individuals, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary for us to do it, but
well, any choice that we make, it's still on the RFP for them to come in and meet you guys, which they probably would anyway. I don't know, it'd be, what, June, the first one in July?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
and is it a contract basis for
Neither of them.
neither of them?
I mean, we can if we wanted to, but
Okay.
none of them really are contract based.
Okay.
It's,
It's just hours, and
right,
so if we find one that we
don't like, you
don't like, yeah. So, yeah, it's either way for me.
Yeah.
I
So
wouldn't
we're
mind meeting
doing
them, but I
it
don't think we
and
have
to
to.
just let Nathan go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing?
Yep.
We're okay with
Yep.
that?
Peter him.
All right, Nathan. So then we'll go to F, set up committee of the whole for June 3rd at 5 for legal RFP, so we would not have to do that. Is that correct?
unless you wanted me to set up a time for you to meet the choice.
We're giving you the
Okay.
choice to make. I don't
Alright,
see what's the point.
sounds good.
I don't need to.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
Okay,
we can,
We can mix that.
they can introduce themselves with us or something.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay, then we'll go to G, grain bin gazebo, Black Otter Park CIP purchase.
I think, well, me and Nathan will both take this. Earlier this week, I hadn't gotten a price back, but it turns out the 27-foot gazebo with the 4-panel bottom sidewalls, all the hardware and accessories and shipped is $13,100, or $12,900 if we pay it all in one lump sum or something like that. Anyways, I was telling Nathan, I'd like to go ahead and buy it, but not put a bunch of stress on my guys that got left to get it up right now. So what we wanna do is go ahead and buy it, it comes shipped in pallets, and we'll stick it somewhere, maybe in the garage. And then when we get to it, we get to it, you know. The concrete pad, I haven't gotten a price, we need a 30-foot pad with 18-inch thick beam around the outer edge. So I'm getting BG to do right to get me a price for that, and they haven't gotten back to me yet, so. We have the money for the gazebo, we might not have enough to get the pad slab done, but we have unspent monies in 443 capital for other stuff that we bought that came in less. So we can afford it, it's just, at that time, I'll bring it back to the board, the contract for the slab. I think what we'd like to do now is go ahead and get this thing ordered, because it's almost a 4-month lead time, I think. So it'd be a late fall project that we would get this up, but I'd like to go ahead and get the slab work done too this summer. And with COVID, we're starting to realize that a lot of stuff is way behind. I don't know how it is over there where you work, Jack. it's getting tough to find stuff, and, like I said, they've got, I think it was a 12-week lead time, 9 to 12 weeks, so, I mean, that's a pretty good time, so. We have the funds to go ahead and make the purchase of gazebo, and I think that's what we're looking for tonight. I have it on my computer. I didn't realize that, I thought we were just gonna talk about it tonight, but, again, it's, roughly 13,100.
Initially, the reserve funds, or the capital funds applied to it was 14,000 for the total construction, so this would be, it would end up being over that amount. If you wanted to know, we don't know what the other amount of this concrete would come in at, and we're waiting on that too, so.
So you need a motion to go ahead with the purchase?
I'd like to get it on order and
Okay.
get it in the pipeline.
I'll make a motion to approve the gazebo purchase in around 13,100.
I'll email you guys out just for FYI, the order.
I'll second. Jack?
Peter, roll call?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. H, Hortonville Municipal Court.
I guess I can start with some of this. So I talked with Christina for a while the other day, and she kind of showed me through some of her processes and stuff. And my suggestion going forward at this point in time is to have her use those extra 2 hours to solve basically when she was going through the debt that's not put in any system, that's just in our files right now going back, because it's all paper files that were never put into the computer or into the SDC or into TRIP. So when she started going back through that, and then she got to 2012 or so and stopped because she was told so. At that point in time, I think what we should do going forward is use those 2 hours that we applied, at around $1,000 or so for that 1 quarter, and have her go through. There's 4 years that she said she can do comfortably, going back to 2008. To have her go through to see what's outstanding debt and to get that into our system logged. That's what I think we should start with, and then from there we can look at other options further going forward.
And this is using the funds that we've already approved that you just didn't use yet.
Correct.
Okay. I would agree with that, as long as we're not talking about authorizing any additional funds
Not right
until
now.
we see some.
Right, data.
And I'd like to see some reporting on that. What are we getting out of that 4
Okay,
years
yeah.
of 2008 to
So, that's,
12?
you'll end up seeing it on these reports, because you can see the reason I brought it up to her is because I noticed that 2013, there was a decent amount, and then it went to 2012 and there was only 3. She said those are because those numbers were cases that were felony cases, so they got put into SDC. So basically, we don't know what it'll be, but we'll be able to tell when she puts it in, the amount. And I would bet that it's more than the amount that we're paying for her to do it at this point in time. But yes, I would have an actual report for you that would say the amount.
My only concern is something that old. It's like, how collectible is it at this
Well, the
point? I mean,
SDC
it's-
can pull it and pull it
it's
from,
old.
right.
It's 13 years old.
Well, the statute of limitations is 20 years on a court judgment. So you are legally able to go back that far. And I would, I agree with Nathan, the SDC is really a good program. And all the other municipal courts that, I talked to Tom Schappa, who's the district court administrator, and most municipalities are using SDC. The state will send them a letter initially to get their cooperation and encourages payment plans. So we generally do see at least something paid.
If that's the case, shouldn't we go back? I mean, where is she at on the 2001s?
Well,
That's got 20 years. Shouldn't we
Yeah.
start that way?
Well,
Because that's.
But I agree, but I mean, the farther you get back, it is still more difficult to collect or even
Right.
find the people, right? And it's just, so I would say, let's do the earlier ones first, but the state will then, if they don't get cooperation, they can levy bank accounts, they can garnish wages, and so it's pretty strong collection practice that, you know, nobody else can replicate. So I think, you know, it's the way to go, and she should be allowed to enter those, and then see what we collect, you know. There still is, on collections, other places could even tell me what they had out there. It's a lot, you know, we talked about it last time.
Worse
there's-
now.
A lot of the people that have these fines, they don't have any ability to pay, or they move elsewhere, you know, so. It's
So-
just the nature of the beast.
So what she provided to us back on April 1st, the columns are days past due, payments, balance, citation number, and due date. Is there more information that we need her to do, or is this is what we asked her to do, right? Or am I missing
Can you say
columns
that
here?
again? What were the columns?
Days past due, payments, balance, citation number, and due date. It's in a
In that
Excel,
column?
yeah, it's an
Yeah.
Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, well, what she's doing though, is she's taking that, she has to enter that into the state.
These aren't entered yet.
Those are,
Do we know when they were entered?
not, I couldn't tell you, she might be able to.
So is that a column we need to, I guess, I'd
Well-
like to be more clear on what we're asking, so that we're not saying we want all this information, but then, and she's giving it to us. You know, I think Norb too, maybe we could ask him, I don't know if we're supposed to work with Christina or if it's Norb, I guess
She's the clerk. I'd
She's
say
the clerk.
She has the information.
okay,
I
so.
agree, there should be another column.
Yeah,
that
should there be another
indicates
column?
That it was entered and when it was entered, and,
Yeah,
I agree.
and then at some, there's gotta be a reporting somewhere, right, when we know it's been collected, in order for us to know.
so then let's
What
be
we're
clear on those
getting.
columns. Let's
Right.
tell her what columns we'd like
Right.
and see what data could she
I
put in
mean, part of
there.
this is to see how successful that other system is in collecting this for people, right? And how valuable her efforts are in putting it in that system and us getting return on that investment. So I'd like to see when she entered it, and I'd like to see when it's paid, so that we can get some real data out of that sort,
Yeah.
whatever, and see our real, you know, days DSO, or days sales outstanding, and how long it's taking to collect this stuff. I mean, some of it's obviously old.
Yeah,
Even if she clarified that it was uncollectible, because she can't find the people or something. Just to let us know that she tried, but yet, okay.
We're not
so-
monitoring this anymore.
Yeah.
the judge is the only one that's gonna write it off, you know, he imposed the fine, so he's the only one that can, basically write off the debt, which would be, you know, if you learn of the situation, he can do that. I don't know how often that happens.
But that's part of the budgeting problem that we were trying to figure out, if there's a way for us to budget any of this, anyways, how.
Yeah, that's,
Or
you know,
account for
that's
it.
just a problem, until I guess if you can start, seeing.
Right, we
what-
can't even estimate at this point without knowing what we're seeing 30% come back, okay, great, then
Mhm.
we account for 70.
That's gonna vary from year to year.
Right, but I mean, it's at least something, right, we're covering our butt on something, right now they're not.
We kind of,
Jane,
right
my-
now, like for estimating for the budget, we just basically take the last 5 years, do the percentages of the increase across the years, and then kind of predict that it's gonna be a little less, so that we're more conservative, because we gotta have our revenues, you know, match our expenditures. So we usually do a little less than what we actually think she's gonna bring in, so that we can tighten our expenditures down.
Well, we know that, well, I mean, we know that she doesn't have control, Norb and Christine don't have control over what actually comes in, right? But when they came in here and asked for an extension to their budget, we gave them the condition that we wanted to see some increased production if we were going to increase the budget.
And that doesn't mean
And that's-
monetary.
yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna get more
monetary
money.
increase.
It
It
just
means more
means
files put in the system.
More files,
With opportunity
documented,
to collect.
and what we asked to see was a comparison of, this is what we were doing, and now that we have additional funding, now we're doing this much more. So that, and,
But we can get that if we
Yes, if
see
you
when
put a
they
date,
put in the
yes.
dates that they entered in the system, we can
yes,
start seeing
because then you can
that.
go back historically
Yeah.
and say that, okay, this, in this
This was put in for this
6-month,
chunk.
3-month, 1-year
Yeah.
period, this is what got entered. Now with more funding, now this gets entered, now we get more entered.
Yeah.
Because if you get the same thing entered, then it's not a worthwhile investment.
Well, right, but there's a lot more also to her job too, like writing warrants and stuff, which I know has been taking a back seat because of the fact she doesn't have time necessarily to write warrants, because there's a lot of background that goes into it. So I think just looking at the data entry of this in the SDC is one thing, but I think we gotta also understand that there's other portions of her job that could add more collection. That we have had officers ask us that to get her more time so that she can enter in warrants.
But I would argue that the 2 hours that they asked for was specifically for this
Correct,
purpose.
I agree.
So regardless of what the
No, I
additional
know.
stuff is that she has to do, or anyone has to do, that the 2 hours was requested for this purpose,
I agree.
and that's what it should be measured against.
Agreed.
So,
And I think if she wants to, if she wants to, you know, show that there wasn't a market increase, that if there's other components to her position that we're not fully aware of, because we don't do it,
Right.
then to come in and say, okay, so I was doing this many warrants, and they take this much time, and in this quarter I had to do this many warrants, which took more time, which is why I didn't get, you know,
Mitigating
which is why I only saw this small improvement instead of the improvement you were expecting,
right.
right? I mean, I assume you're working with her a little,
That's, so,
trying to,
right,
yeah.
so that's why I wanna start with this, because I think this is the most immediate thing that we need to
Okay.
do, is get this into the system, get it onto our books so we know what's there. And just start there, and then we'll slowly build our process up and kind of have more meetings and kind of discuss it.
I mean, I don't know what your bandwidth is, but you're very good with numbers.
Yeah.
And very good at making them, laying them out so that we can understand even really complicated interwoven stuff. So, you know, whatever you can, you know,
Yeah.
afford to help her with,
Yeah,
that'd be great. And I would suggest that anything that is planned to come to us should absolutely, if you have the bandwidth, go to you first. And then have the time to go back to her to say, you know, they're not gonna get this doesn't, you know, you, maybe if you do this kind of thing.
okay.
I think that would be really good, because that's a really, really strong point in your toolbox.
All right.
Out of curiosity, do we know how many warrants are pending out there that aren't written?
I couldn't tell
She
you.
didn't tell you, okay.
No, she didn't even like really talk to me much about it. She just said that it's just, she's trying to get some stuff done for court, and I think part of it is the stuff that's going on with the courts not really being open, and hopefully they will be soon, so, yeah.
For what it's worth, you know, warrants can be, in some instances, the best way of collecting. But sometimes it's actually a real money drain.
Yeah.
Because when somebody is picked up and housed, we pay for the housing.
Yeah, then
And
lose
the
the fee.
county or whoever charges a lot. So from a financial standpoint, times a warrant isn't a reasonable way to put it either, you know. So,
I just wanted to, Jim, I think it was a real good point when you said we don't know all she does.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we all need to remember when we're talking about people's jobs, because we don't, you know. Nathan found out a lot more about it, so I think we have to remember that as a board. Jane, can I ask you, because I think you said that she submits monthly reports to you, that Christina does, so what all, is it basically intake, money in?
Yep, she brings that all over to Lauren, and Lauren puts it in the cash.
Okay.
Receiving, and every month I get a notification, because they automatically put the money into the village savings from state debt and trip, and every month that, you know, increases.
Okay.
I mean, even if you look on the last page of her report here on page 4, the revenues are going up. I mean, yeah, and all her reports match with the money. She gives me a stack of, you
Okay.
know, cash, the money orders,
I mean,
the
we can go
checks.
back and get the SDC numbers of our monthly income over the past 5 years, and to see kind of the benefit of the SDC, if you'd like.
I think I'm just, for me personally, it's just
Going
a
forward.
progress thing. I wanna
Right,
see it going forward. I mean, maybe we need to give the extra 2 hours in the budget going, you know, if this is gonna be beneficial, it's worth it, but it's kinda hard to say yeah to do that when we
Well,
have
right.
nothing to go based on, and we just know that we have a lot of debt that's old,
Yeah,
that's not being collected.
I think the
We
collection,
need like some historical
in the
stuff.
same breath where you can't hold it against their department for not, collecting, you can't give them credit for the months and quarters where more people paid or the fines were bigger,
Well-
right? So it is a measure, but it's not,
Yeah.
it's not a really fair measure
It is when
necessarily.
you think of, we never used the SDC program prior to 2018.
Okay,
really.
so yeah, you can compare
So
the
it's
programs.
fairly new that we started putting in, because before it was horrible,
Mhm.
and that's why everyone used TRIP, and that's just as pretty bad as well. And the SDC program kind of just started becoming a big thing, and that's kind of what they've been teaching us at the, at the Clerks Institute. They talked about the SDC program and the improvements that it made. So it's more of a more recent thing that's started.
So we can compare the two programs, but, I
Right.
mean,
Right.
and just like we can't hold it against them
I
if they
agree.
don't get money, as long as they're showing the progress in the work that's done and the entries that are made and the warrants and whatever is being done, that's what we're providing budget for. It's not necessarily the results of how many people pay and how much they pay, it's how much effort went into, and hopefully, the hope is that the more effort, the more that will come in, but that's not necessarily a direct correlation.
Yeah, because another factor is, it's first come, first served in that program too, so.
Yep.
Once you enter it, if you're in a queue, you gotta wait till,
Else is paid first.
yeah.
Yeah.
Super.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we will move then to I. Any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion?
Is it, I just looked at my email, I got the updated number for the gazebo, and I forwarded it off to a couple of you. Do we need to go back, because it's cheaper, it's 11,833.
Did we authorize more?
We authorized
We authorized
13,1.
more, but,
Well, then if you can get it for less, unless they don't, they can revise it downward.
I don't think they
Said
need
will
to.
come in
We'll
around,
just-
that's what it said, will come in around, that's literally the words he said.
Yeah,
Concrete will be involved in that then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, I just wanted you guys to know that the original quote, I think, the earlier one when I started this was, it had extra panels on the bottom, and we deducted 4 panels, so that's what pushed it back down to 11,833, just an FYI. All right.
Does anyone have any topics for future meetings? Okay, then we will go to 9, report of village officials. A, clerk treasurer.
Today was open book, and I think there were maybe 3 people that came in and talked to the assessor. They've had a lot of phone calls, so the next step would be someone to file an objection form if they couldn't get anywhere with the assessor. And then that's on June 8th, board review. We're busy working on the liquor licenses and operator licenses. I think that's all I have.
Yes, we are.
Yes, I think she did 70 operator licenses today. So we're getting them.
Any questions for Jane? If not, we'll go to B, director of public works.
Just a quick touch, we had our Arbor Day ceremony last Friday, we planted the 13 trees from Wolf Raff's nursery, which they donated, and again, it was a nice quiet ceremony. Still haven't opened up much due to COVID, but I figure next year with the new DPW, we'll have a nice big event, party and everything. No Mow May. There seems to be success with the program itself, there's a lot of people doing it, but without any restrictions. I know we discussed restrictions, and we agreed not to place any, but what's been happening is our chronic people in town that fill and mow their yards, we have no authority over them, even though they can claim, they may not know anything about no mow May, they're just not mowing. So, if you do it again next year, which I recommend you do, you just include some caveats, boulevards 5 feet from lot lines or something like that. So either the police department or I can tell that this property is not abandoned. So we've gotten a few complaints, not 3 or 4.
I got a question, Carl. So like with the terrace, we mowed our terrace,
Yeah.
but then you've got something in here, a recommendation about maybe like a 5-foot setback.
Yeah.
is that a safety reason? I guess I'm trying to figure, like, even
I
at 5
think it-
feet from our lot line, it just took, we have a fence all the way around our yard except for the front and that one side.
Yeah, I think it makes it easier for us to make sure that these people are actually participating and not just neighbor got tired and went and mowed your boulevard, and the rest of the yard is just overgrown. So, it gives the appearance of, you know, something's going on there, they're taking care of some of it, but not all of it, and,
Cause we did mow the terrace, cause we felt that was a safety issue there.
yeah.
And then we have the 2 signs in the front yard. This afternoon, the front did get mowed, cause it was getting bad, but I guess I think we would have a hard time with the 5 feet from our property line. You know, especially if we have a fence, that would be hard for us, just because,
Well, yeah, I'm sure your neighbors would, you know, if your neighbors spray weeds and everything, and you're letting it grow all the way up the property line, I think it would just be courteous, you know, 5 feet, 10 feet, whatever. Again, it's no different than our prairie grass ordinance, you know, it needs to have the appearance of a prairie grass garden, not just you know, wild, unkempt property.
yeah, and with the fence, we own 6 inches on the other side of the fence, so I mean, but we still we go clean it up and we maintain it. I mean,
Yeah.
we just, I just,
It's
when
not
it comes up
terrible.
next year, we can
We
talk
need to
about
have
it.
something, some mechanism in place that I can tell the difference between,
I agree,
okay, and you can figure that out next time.
yeah.
2021 street maintenance. I've got an RFP out right now for crack filling, cupping repair. That's where you get the big dips in the road, and micro surfacing, which is a material you place on the surface of the road. So Cherry Street, South Mill Street, Beatty Street all have good utilities, but the roads need some maintenance. So I chose those 3. We should be able to get another 10 to 15 years of life if we do this work. Anyways, I've got an RFP out for those 3 roads. I also got an RFP out for the Auto Miller lighting project. This is just the in-ground electrical to the poles. That's due May 25th. We're also getting ready to put it on RFP for reconstructing the Miller Park tennis court. That should go out next week. Nathan's been helping me with that. S.E. Swiderski detour, I'm trying to keep Jack in the loop and Chris. The original submittal for the detour was declined because they needed more information. So we resubmitted everything yesterday, and the DOT, the county agreed to the amended date of June 8th through the June 10th for closing down State 15. Now, I haven't gotten the permit back from the DOT yet, but they were waiting on the county to make approval, so.
The RFP for the reconstruction of Miller Park Tennis Court, that's to change it to the tennis and the basketball court, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, it looks like the 15 will be shut down June 8th to the June 10th. Again, I don't know if that's gonna be a 24-hour day detour. The DOT may stick some caveats on there where it's gotta be open in the evenings and at night. I don't know yet. So.
What is the
As
detour?
soon as I know, you'll know, I guess. But whatever happens, I have to contact the media and the news 5 days prior, so we'll get it out there.
What is the proposed detour? Is it industrial or?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, this is for S.E. Swiderski Apartments.
But
Yeah.
where does it,
But
she asked where to go.
what is the detour?
Well, our usual detour, Industrial Park to TT, back up in,
Okay.
yeah. That's the one we use for everything, parades, mostly parades, back in the old days.
They're gonna be going down my road all over the place.
It'll be nice when 15's done,
Mm-hmm.
the bypass is done,
They're gonna be going
we go
down
back to
Lincoln.
having events downtown and not have to deal with the state. Does anyone have any questions on all that? There's a lot of stuff there, and there's a lot in play. Me and Nathan are busy. I've been helping him with administrative, he's helping me with public works. Starting next week, I want to spend more time with my guys, so kind of busy this time of year. I don't know when the school project's gonna start, the water main, sometime in mid-June, mid to late June, I heard. Again, it's not expected to take very long, but it's specifically a summertime project. So, again, we'll notify the fire department on that as well, so. That's all I got.
Any questions for Carl? Okay, then we'll move to C, Police Chief.
I don't have a whole lot. We received our first payment a little over $3,900 from the FY 2020 COVID municipalities under 19,999. So that was for some additional equipment. I really don't have anything else.
Did you get with EMS at all? I think that was 2 meetings ago. They were wondering about
They submitted
reimbursement
receipts.
or any other stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, you did?
they should've got it.
Okay. I haven't had another meeting with them. but I
Oh,
just-
yeah, it was mailed out.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. pretty good, I think.
Okay, then we will go to D, library director.
We have a library board meeting coming up on June 1st. The staff and I are in our final stages of our summer programming planning. And we should have that finalized very soon and put out there so people can start looking forward to our summer. Registration, we're hoping to start on June 7th, so we want to get our planning and our program scheduling out there pretty soon. We're still doing the Arbor Day coloring contest until Friday the 28th. And I have 3 prizes for the top 3 winners. Our summer employee comes back on Monday, which we are so excited for. And we are going to be posting our part-time position very soon. Yep, that's all I've got.
Any questions for Ally?
Okay, we'll go to E, attorney.
I don't know anything.
Okay. F, administrator.
I just got a few extra things. We got a refund today from the league insurance of around $5,000. For, just said, like a refund for the past few years, I guess. I can bring more information. It's just a check, and it's something that they sent to other league members as well, who paid in, and I guess they didn't need as much as I had, so. Outside of that, I had a Heller's biennium budget update, which basically they discussed kind of the state's proposed upcoming laws and what they want to do in this next budget cycle, which focused a lot on the TIDs and how those would be affected. And incorporation was one of the things that they talked about for a while, that there's a few bills that are being talked about potentially limiting a village from, or a town from going into a village that has extra room and then incorporating that in later, to limit that and make them wait 5 years. So that was one thing they discussed. We also have our new employee starts on Monday for our accounts payable, and we posted the deputy director of public works position. Outside of that, I've been working with parks, or with our rec department, to help them get their stuff situated. Yeah, and the package should be going out soon. And then the ARPA funds, at this point in time, advice has been just kind of take your time and think about how you want to spend it and not rush it right away, is the advice we're getting from the league and everywhere else. They said, you know, municipalities at times when they get money, they tend to rush into it and spend it all within that year instead of thinking about long-term potentials. We have time where we don't need to rush into discussion on it yet, and kind of wait for more information and get some ideas from other municipalities and see what they're doing. And, yeah. But we'll discuss it at some point in the future.
Any questions for Nathan?
Okay. G, building permit report, there's none. 10, communication and miscellaneous business. A, Blackwater Lake District News.
I emailed Al to see if he'd heard about the harvester, because I assume people are wondering, and it's supposed to be coming next week, but he doesn't have an exact date yet. So that's the only update I have for that.
Okay. B, Hortonville Hortonia Fire District News. Nothing. C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report and News is in the packet. D, Hortonville Civic Association. Peter, do you have anything?
Nothing at this time.
All right, then we go to E, Senior Activities Committee. Pat?
We had a meeting this afternoon, and Ally and Jane, if I forget anything, feel free to jump in. I'm just going through my notes here. The meal site is going to continue as is with grab and go and frozen here through the summer, they thought. The numbers are down, so if anybody knows of anyone that needs home delivered meals or the grab and go on Wednesdays, please send them, you can have them contact them through the village, for ADRC. Foot care clinics over at Pinewood are expanding their hours because they're getting busier, which is a good thing. And so more people are coming out and accessing that service. One of the vans is going to be turned back over to the county on Tuesday, right, Nathan? So we'll be down to one van and keeping pretty busy with the one van. Talked about the library, planning a lot of collaborative programs with UW Extension. And we had a presentation or a woman that attended from Fox Valley Memory Project who would like to, they want to expand their services to our area, looking at memory cafes and some other programs, and also Purple Angel training, which means they would come in and talk to our staff members. And Jane and Ally were there, so she's going to communicate with them about giving training so people can identify when someone has memory loss or Alzheimer's, kind of how to work better with them if they would come to the window or to the library. And then I talked to Chris. The police department will also be receiving some training. It's brief, it's like an hour, but it just gives the basics on how to talk with a person, approach a person with dementia or Alzheimer's. And then we're going to focus on what we can do to get people back together again later this summer. That's going to be the focus of our next meeting on June 17th. That's all I have.
Any
Did I-
questions for Pat?
Did I cover it all?
Okay. Then we'll go to 11, comments and suggestions from citizens present.
Hi, I'm Mark Schrader. I'm the circuit court judge in branch 7 as of about 6 weeks ago. A couple of you I know from way back when, Pat.
I was trying to figure. Hi, Mark.
Hi. So anyway, I was appointed to replace Judge Desjardins, who retired earlier this year. I know the issue of the court system being shut down came up here a little bit ago. If people have questions for me about that, I can certainly answer them. But the reason why I came tonight was really just to listen. I work in Appleton. It's really easy to get caught in that bubble and think Appleton is the county, and it's not. Most people in the county live in places like Hortonville or Kimberly Littleshoot, or then up in the towns or Black Creek, places like that. So I'm going around to the towns and the village board meetings and just listening, because some of the things that get talked about here percolate up in the court system later on, and it kind of helps me understand what's going on a little bit better when I've got a little bit of context. And the only way to do that is to get out of Appleton and into meetings like this and just kind of listen. So that's what I'm here for. As far as the court system is concerned, and I'm not going to make this long, so I promise I'll stop talking here shortly. We are doing jury trials again. It is better than it was, but we were shut down for 8-9 months and doing some hearings. But if people wouldn't resolve their criminal cases, we couldn't do trials. Civil trials we weren't doing at all. Civil trials are starting up again in June. There was one jury trial this week. I think probably the jury's out right now. We have multiple others scheduled next week in multiple courtrooms, including mine. And then next month, it's starting to be difficult to find places on the calendar for other things because we're trying to dig out the jury trial backload that has stacked up over the course of the last 9 months. And that was because the Supreme Court told us we couldn't do juries until right around the first of the year, and now we're digging out. So if people have questions about anything about that, they don't give me cards. I can't hand them out because I don't have them, but I've got a direct line line phone number if you want it, and you can call me if you've got questions about the way the court system's functioning. Otherwise, just thanks for letting me sit here and listen and watch you work, so.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
for
for
the time.
coming. We appreciate it. What is your phone number?
Direct line is 920-832-4774.
4774.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you so much for attending.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, we'll go to 12, motion to go into closed session.
I'm not gonna set off an alarm if I go this way, right?
No, you're good.
No.
Nice to meet you folks.
Good night.
Good night.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session under state statute 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session.
I'll second.
Roll call, Peter?
I agree.
Aye.
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 Okay. 13, 5 minutes recess to clear the meeting room. And will you shut off the, well, I could do it too.
No, not until it's,
Jeannie,
background's all done.
don't we have to make a motion to go back into open session?
Yeah.
She's waiting for it.
I was just gonna get answered.
I'll make a motion to go back into open session.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call. Charlotte?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, I will now turn the camera back on.
She excited.
Who seconded your motion?
Yeah, who seconded?
That was Tim, thanks.
Case 16, any action on matters discussed in closed session? There's none. Then I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now adjourned.
Thank you.